Aloha everyone, Joshua Hayes at BigWaveTrading.com. Pretty good session for the stock market overall on Tuesday. I expected us to follow through on the mini reversal that we kind of had on Monday. A lot of geopolitical noise, an extreme amount, and I thought that that might carry over in today's session based on the way that my final page of stocks that I'm long looked and the way that my overall long scans were looking. But surprisingly enough, following the gap down, we had a pretty strong session, and even though volume was below average on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, and while it was lower on the New York Stock Exchange, no surprise, it was actually slightly higher on the NASDAQ, and then on the index ETFs, the SPY had higher volume, the DIA had higher volume, the QQQ had higher volume, and a pocket pivot point signal. IWM did not, but at least a BOP is going in the right direction. So, I mean, that is a positive. So, as long as we hold these recent lows and continue to trend higher, I'll be A-okay with the market. I still have some problems. 15 days ago, we had that Russell reconstitution rebalance day. That caused a lot of extreme moves in BOP signals, and since then today is one of the worst days I've ever seen for nice chart patterns deteriorating via internal indicators. I'm just going to throw up a few stocks like East, IOVA, PAR. I wanted to show you NIHD. You can see how on the bottom of the screen the green BOP fell to yellow on a lot of these, and or they went from max green BOP to not max green BOP anymore. And I mean, this just happened in way too many stocks for my liking. But, hey, at least there's one stock that held its max green pop out there. So, I mean, that's a small concern, but it is a concern of mine. The other very small concern of mine, let me pull this chart over, I like showing everybody, is the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline line. Now, granted, here, when the indexes were below the recent highs, thanks to the Russell 2000, the NYSE advanced decline line broke out to new huge highs here, and we're still at former resistance, is now acting as good support, and everything looks good. But on the most shortest of short, daily time frames, you can see the SPY is drifting up here to new highs. The NASDAQ is drifting up here to new highs. The Russell 2000 is going sideways, but the NYSE advanced decline line, we're getting less participation in this most recent move higher. Now, it wouldn't take much for a big up day, with pretty strong breath to just shoot that line back up higher, and that's what I'm hoping to happen. But on the short term, this, along with those charts I just showed you, showing the BOP deteriorating from either max green to a very low green or from green to yellow, is a small concern. The good news is at the same time, today's rally with the NASDAQ hitting new highs. Why is that up there? Wish I could get rid of that, but I don't know how to get rid of it. Okay, anyway, with the NASDAQ hitting new highs, the good news is that the IBD put call ratio went up from 0.85 to 0.91 following today's session. So that is a little bit of good news that despite the rally today, there was a little bit more fear in the market, once again, more than likely due to the absolutely absurd, it's a joke, geopolitical situation that we're involved with right now in the United States of America. It's unbelievable. Anyone that's intelligent and halfway scientifically literate knows exactly what I am talking about. Getting back to the trades, you can see the limit orders that filled today. Everything went normal except for RBB. That did not fill until very late in the session. But overall, besides a few stocks that triggered way too many stocks for my liking, like SRTS here, 3 stops there. It was a pretty good overall session. MICT gave me a little shaky shake. It looks like I got to buy that one back, half of it at least. Shook me out of half. What I got shaken out of, I want to buy back half of it. So I had 1,000 shares I was shaken out of. I want to buy back 500. USEG, I think that was 1,800 shares. I want to buy back 900 of those. So those two stocks by the end of the day look fine. And while they're not necessarily ad signals, I feel like I need to put back on at least half the position I was knocked out of in case it does move higher immediately. I'll regret if I didn't. I don't mind putting it back on, using today's low day, getting stopped out, and moving on. But I really hate to get shaken out and then watch these things run and be like, man, I could have bought those back. I have the available capital. So it is what it is. But going through these, profit stop, small sell stop, small sell stop, small sell stop, profit stop, profit stop, profit stop. Oh, excuse me, small sell stop, profit stop, sell stop, final sell stop for regular losses, IIPR, final sell stop for regular losses, small sell stop, profit stop, profit stop, profit stop, profit stop, profit stop, profit stop, small losses, final sell stop, small losses, sell stop. So overall, pretty good with the stops, a little bit more than I wanted, but not too bad. End of day sell signals, SPXU on an end of day basis is giving a 100% full sell signal. Pretty clear cut, failing there. TTOO, 3 lower highs, 3 lower lows, especially on a final closing basis with BOP going red. That's a 100% full sell signal below the 50-day moving average. And then UTMD, confirmation close below the 50-day moving average on above average volume, closing below the most recent session's low a day. That is a 100% full sell signal. Should be able to leave with at least 10% gain in the morning. BZQ below the 50, that's a 50% sell signal. Netflix below the 20 on above average volume, 50% sell signal. SYNL below the 20 on above average volume in red BOP, 50% sell signal. FSP below the 20 on heavier volume, first time below that line, 50% sell signal. And then SRTS, as you saw with the intraday stops, closing below the 50-day moving average on above average volume, 50% sell signal on all of those positions. Today's low day, if you have positions in any of them, you move your 50% of whatever you're long to 1 cent below today's low day. Now for the actionable signals end, there's only 3. Due to the severe BOP deterioration, kind of like what you see in SRTS here, but it's easier to show it on stocks that I actually still like EPAM, and then MGRC, Sky, and NWY. As you can see with that BOP deterioration, this was pretty much everywhere, so my scans were very dull today. But one stock did flag in the Cancelim scan, one flagged in the Perfect Speculator scan, and one flagged in my IPO scan. Those are my top 3 scans. Getting started off with EDUC. This is a Cancelim quality stock. 2 pocket pivot point signals in 2 days in a row. Candle over candle above the 200 on the heavier volume with BOP increasing. 1% of my account capital I want to get long. Limit order 1920. First cut loss 1795. Final cut loss right there 1715. Pretty clear cut. Everything is lined up. Very few stocks look like that. I know there's a lot of red in this chart, but it's got a pretty big uptrend. If it gets near its 20% within its 52-week high, so it'll be Perfect Speculator. Again, higher quality name and very limited risk if we are wrong to a big potential gain based on the previous past measured move. And then in the Perfect Speculator scan, IMMP is slightly extended from its 20-day moving average, so I have to reduce the position. Normally it would be 1%, but it's halved to 0.5%. And with it being under $5, it's actually supposed to technically just be 0.25% of my account capital. But you know what? That first cut loss level is so close that I'm willing to go ahead and put 0.5% of my account capital in there. Now, if you'll notice, folks, it's not 20% of my account capital. It's not 15% of my account capital. It's not 10% of my account capital. I have no problem putting that much capital into a new long position if everything is lined up. And as I went over ad nauseum yesterday in my new positions page and video lesson, not everything's lined up. So we'll continue with a small measured position. So on my end, 0.5% of my account capital, limit order 264, and then I'll be operating with some pretty tight stops. 252, 241, 231, and then 214. And once again, if those first few stops go before the final ones ever come into play, chances are they'll never come into play. These are just emergency stop levels in case the thing intraday crashes immediately tomorrow. And then the final new long position from my IPO scan, ALTR. Let's actually get a little bit closer. ALTR 1% of my account capital limit order. The high, how did I completely write down the wrong number? Oh, okay. So I wrote this down wrong. So limit order 34.89. 34.89, 1% of my account capital. First cut loss level is actually going to be right here because this low right here is splitting hairs to this low. This low is splitting hairs to this low. This makes the most logical common sense to have as your first stop level. So for ALTR, first stop level, 33.78. Final stop level, right there, 33.04. But ALTR, pretty good move in IPO name. This stock has been brought to my attention by people on StockTwits and people in my chat room, members in my chat room. So this is one that we've been watching for a while, and it looks like we got a good entry. And once again, if it doesn't work, we don't risk much whatsoever. But ALTR, 1%, IMMP, 0.5%, and EDUC, 1%. Those are the only 3 new long positions. All right, everybody, I'll see you in the chat room Wednesday morning. Have a great one.